Hello, hello. Hopefully this is not terrible echo. We restarted because we were having such a bad echo on the other one, but hopefully this is much, much better and we will move forward. I'm so excited to have Ariel on today. As I was saying, we're basically having to chat with each of these women and hear their stories about how they built, their six-figure business and beyond. And I think it's just so valuable to have the opportunity to hear other people's stories and hear kind of the behind the scenes of other people's stories. Because what I think you're going to see in all 8 of these women is that they've just all done it really differently, but like really in alignment with themselves. And I just feel like that's the message I'm always preaching. And so this is just going to be a great demonstration of that. Hi.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. And I put my headphones in. Is this better for you and also everyone?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, cool.
So good. Amazing. Okay, so just tell everybody a little bit about you, who you are, what you do. I'm sure so many people in this group already know you, but just give them a little rundown.
Yay. Okay, so I'm Ariel Frey. I am a success coach, super into manifestation, marketing, mindset. Yeah, I work with service-based female entrepreneurs. I freaking love it. A lot of my clients are more like really believe in law of attraction, intuition, that type of thing. We bring some strategy into the mix, a lot of mindset into the mix. And I guess the only other thing that really is relevant to this is that I've just been doing this for a while. I think it's almost like 5 years now, which is kind of crazy. And and a lot of the success that I've had has been from using my intuition to do that. So that's
amazing. Okay, everybody says it sounds super good. Thank you for coming back, Chelsea and Patricia. Okay, so basically we'll keep this part rather short, but just give me like a little rundown of like how you started your business, what made you start it, and like anything specific you can share with us. Like I think that's always the hardest part is like how to even get started. So just tell us like what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I was a server in the restaurant industry. I'll just give you like the main points. I was a server in the restaurant industry. I've been in the restaurant industry for like 10 years, started when I was super young. I was really unfulfilled, felt like I was just wasting time on the planet, wanted to do something, had been studying personal development, saw the online industry world sort of start blooming, and started realizing that I could teach the things that I had learned because I had been trying to put together some form of entrepreneurial endeavor for a couple of years before that, and it didn't work. I was like hanging up flyers, like crazy stuff. And then I found the coaching industry and I was like, wow, like I could share a lot of this stuff that I've learned, not just as far as coaching goes, but I could start, all this tech stuff that I taught myself. I could teach that. There's so much that I could do here. And I saw the opportunity in that and just started to do it. And it was like, really just a moment, like the getting started piece was just a moment where I said, I am going to do this. And I decided that I was going to do it and that I was going to be successful at it. And then I did. And what I actually do with people has evolved and shifted over time.
I think what's so beautiful about that, and I think like it's probably true for like anybody that's like really like fully dove into this and like made this their full-time gig, is there has to come that moment where you just decide to make it happen. Like if you're listening, like was that true for you? Like I feel like in my experience, I know very few business owners who can't almost point to that moment. Like I literally remember my moment. I was like sitting in a parking lot in my car crying and I was like, I am making this happen. Like, and it was just like, I just decided. And I think like that is such a great reflection of like, it happens in a moment sometimes. Like, so I would love to know if you guys are watching, like, was that true for you in your own entrepreneurial way, or did it like come over a long period of time? And I think what you're saying, Ariel, is like, it did come over a long period of time, but I remember the moment when I finally decided, right?
Yeah, I remember the moment so clearly when I finally decided. Like there were little moments of deciding before that where I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then it was like that moment where I really decided. That's when everything started to show up for me that allowed me to actually do it. Like the first book where I really started to understand manifesting, for example. But I think too, like I have to keep deciding all the time because like you've been with me over the last couple of years with like the ups and downs in my like personal life. And that's been something, not that I want to talk about it on here or anything, but
let's talk about that.
but that's been something that,
yeah,
you know, I've had to redecide over and over and over again, like that, you know, what I'm going to do and how I'm going to be successful and all that stuff. So I don't think it's just one decision. I think it's again and again.
Yeah, same. Like Ariel and I relate on that level a lot of like having kind of gotten to the point of like a lot of success in our business and then having like shit in our personal life kind of blow up. And I just totally, I just totally agree with that, because those are the moments when you have to decide, keep deciding the most. Those are the moments when it's easiest to be like, oh, maybe like whatever, this was never meant to be, or, you know, but if in those moments you can keep deciding, like Chelsea just said, she feels like she manifested getting fired from her 9 to 5 and then decided to go for it. And I think that's what it is. Like in those tough moments, if you can be like, well, this was for me and this means something, I'm still deciding, it's like crazy what can happen, right?
Yeah, totally. And deciding all the time.
Hey, Natalia, we love you. We're excited for you to be on.
Yay.
Okay, so I want to ask you 2 questions before we kind of dive into the intuition piece. The first is just kind of like, what has been your favorite part of running your business? I think this is good because I feel like it will probably be different for everybody. And I think that's just important for people to see, is that like, you don't have to love this one thing about your business for it to be successful, or you don't have to be obsessed with marketing. If you're not, like, it's okay. Like, we're all going to have different pieces. So what have been your favorite piece of running your business?
That's such a good question. I think that my favorite piece, my absolute favorite piece for sure, is the client work. That's my favorite piece. Is the, like, people would probably think that my favorite piece was marketing because I'm like on Insta stories and stuff all the time. But
yeah.
And I like it and it's fun and stuff because I like to share lessons learned. But really, it's like the client work that's my favorite work, like seeing people have the breakthroughs or being able to fit all the pieces together that they are not able to see, and just showing them what that looks like all together so that they're like, oh, wow, it's like a huge opening. That's my most favorite part. And then my second most favorite, because obviously there's always 2 things, Lacey.
2 things.
2 things.
You get 2.
2 things. It was just like having seen so many times when I decide something, it shows up. When I decide something, it shows up. It's just so cool. Like, it's like just magic. That would probably be the 2 things.
One thing I really want to like illustrate here that I just think is so important is that I really feel like what gets into a lot of people's heads, and I just like, I did not know, Ariel has not heard these questions before. I didn't know she was going to answer that, but I think it's like such an important thing to be like, you can have $1 million business with client service being your favorite thing. It does not have to be marketing. That was not even in her top 2, right? Like, and I think that so often people think, well, I have to be obsessed with marketing to be able to build a really successful business, or my entire focus has to be on marketing or whatever. And like, it's not bad if you love marketing, but I think it's just good to see like, you can have as much success as you want, even when like the thing you love most is client work. I hear that so often from people. It's like, I wish I just didn't have to do the marketing and I could do the client work. Well, you can build $1 million business loving client work the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think of like the marketing as an extension of that, because every time I do marketing, I'm always trying to teach someone something.
Yes.
You know,
you really want it to be about the service.
Yeah. That's like my main thing. So important to me.
What has been the hardest part of running a business for
you? For me, structures. Structures have been the hardest part.
I co-sign that.
Yeah, structures. Sorry, you guys. I'm like trying to like get in the actual frame, but like I'm having to like use my thigh muscles to like be in the frame. Yeah, structures have been the hardest part for me. It's not my strong point to be like I never really like learned routines. Like structure was like not a piece of my life, like really ever. And so I've had to like learn that along the way. And I think that that's probably one of the things that has been like hardest for me to actually not only lean into and love, but because now I'm like starting to love it. Like I'm like texting like my boyfriend, like, oh my God, like I can't wait like for routines. Like routine sounds so fun, you know? It's just I think that's been the hardest part, is not only it's feeling like leaning into them to the point where I feel like, oh, this can give me a lot of freedom. and that's what I want, as opposed to thinking that it boxes me in any way, and just like learning it, because I had a lot of times where there wasn't that structure in place, and it was like everything was flying all over the place, but I couldn't fully wrap my head around putting it into place because I thought it boxed me in. So
Yeah.
that was like the hardest thing. And I mean, I'm still obviously
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, hey, Melanie, I think that's so helpful for people to hear, because I feel like that's a struggle for a lot of people. And I think just knowing, like, what I always like am amazed by is like how many things we think we need in place to be successful and how few we actually need. So you've created so much success over the last 5 years, and you're still like, I'm just starting to learn structure. And so obviously it's serving you, and structure is a good thing and it's a great thing to have in place. But I think it's just beautiful for people to see, like, there's not like this checklist of 40 things that you have to have in place to be able to be super successful. Like, you were able to create all this even while, said with love, bucking structure most of that time, right?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. I mean,
So good.
you know, there were like little pieces, right? Just little pieces, but it was like this structure, now let's switch it. This structure, now let's switch it. This structure.
Yeah.
So nothing was like, it wasn't like a well-oiled corporate machine. Not that that sounds sexy to anybody, but like it sounds really sexy to me now because I understand what a well-oiled machine of a business can do for you in your life, you know?
Yeah, which is give you a lot more freedom in your life, right?
Yeah, a ton of freedom for sure.
So basically, tell us, like, in kind of like, obviously your business has shifted some over the years and whatever, but what I feel like has always been true for you from like day one to now is that like intuition has been like the biggest part of it. And so just tell us, like, what has that looked like for you? Why has that always been so important to you? Why has that kind of been the thread through it all?
Yeah. So I think it's been the thread through it all because I've always felt that there were things that I knew or things that I could tell about people or situations. And it was when I actually started exploring that and trusting that, that I started to see pieces fall into place.
Yeah.
And I think that it was starting to explore that and learn about that and trust that and use that. That's what led me to coaching in the first place. So, and also it's what helped me to make that decision, because I made the decision, and then once I made the decision that I was going to be successful, that's where stuff started showing up. Like within 5 minutes, that book about manifesting showed up. You know, so I think that once that book showed up and I sort of flew on blind faith a little bit, that like I'm going to be successful and I'm going to figure this out, it was kind of like a no-brainer for me to just trust my intuitive guidance. And I don't mean like there's anything crazy about that. I just mean like I knew that the answers were out there, and that if I looked for opportunity and I decided that I got to have what I wanted, that the answers on how to actually make that happen would come into my brain, and then I could just take action on them. And so, obviously, go ahead.
No, I think that is one thing I just see you as being like such a strong point of yours. Like, if I could point to like one of the things that I think has made you be the most successful is that you're someone who's not only really good at listening and hearing their intuition, but you're really good at acting on it. And I feel like most people are one or the other. They're really good at taking a bunch of action, but it's hard for them to tune in. Or they're really good at tuning in, but it's very hard for them to like then go action all of that stuff. So just say a little bit more to us about that, because I feel like that's sort of your secret sauce, is that you listen, but then you like almost immediately really act on that, right?
Yeah. So I think it was Joe Vitale maybe who said that the universe loves speed. I think that's who said it. And I love that because it's so true. The way that I think about it, and this took me like 5 years to figure out, but but the way that I think about it is that you're just one moving piece of the universe's plan. And I don't mean like there's a plan that's like, I don't mean like there's a plan outside of you that's being created. I mean like you decide your desire, and then the universe starts putting pieces into place to bring that to you. but you're one piece of the puzzle that helps make it happen. And so like all the intuitive hits that you get, all the ideas that you get of actions to take, it's like you have to take them. They're like a must to make all the other pieces work. So I didn't know how to like actually say that until probably like a month ago. But that's the action piece. So it's like, even if the actions seem like they don't make any sense, it's your job to take them because they lead to the next thing that you can't see. And I think the one other thing I wanted to say about it is that I think that there's just this idea that everybody has it figured out and that everybody can see the whole roadmap and it's just like driving down the road. And it really, that's just not true. Nobody can really see the whole roadmap. Maybe some people can see a little bit further than others, but like the whole thing's not laid out. It starts to build itself and reveal itself as you take the actions and drive down the road.
It's so true. And I think that you bring that faith where like, you know, if you take the next step, the next thing will unfold. And I think that's what's missing for people sometimes is bringing that faith to it as well, right?
Totally.
Hey, Lisa says 2 of her favorite people on live stream together.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Good. Thank you.
That's so sweet.
We love you. Okay, so I think that's really helpful. And so do you use it like for people that are watching and kind of want to know what that looks like? Like, are you using it like for many decisions throughout your day? Are you kind of tuning in like on a weekly basis? Like, what does that process look like for you?
Yeah, that's so fun. I love this question. So what it looks like is I will use it in my marketing. So I use it kind of for specific things. So think of it sort of as like compartmentalized in a way, but then also throughout the day. So what I mean is compartmentalized, like I will sit down and if I'm writing my marketing, I will say, what am I meant to share today? And then whatever comes up is what I will share. Obviously, it's within the context of my content, like pillars, or within the context of what I'm selling. Or if I need to write a sales post, I'll say, okay, what am I meant to share about this program? So I use it in that way. And even if I don't feel inspired, whatever is there is what I share because I know that that's what is meant to come out. And then
I feel like that's such a quotable. That's really good. Like, whatever is there is what I share. Like, that's such a good rule, right?
Yeah.
Like, really, that is good. Like, that's a good rule to just, like, if, you know, you're listening, like, take that with you. Like, whatever is there is what I share. Like, if it's coming up, it's coming up for a reason. And I think what you're saying is, like, you put so much trust behind it. If it's coming up, it's coming up for a reason. So I do something with it. And I just think that's the magic, right?
Yeah. And that's where I always see the biggest results and the biggest return is when my thoughts and feelings are on what I want. And then I do that where I just share whatever is there. It's where I always see the most engagement. I always see the biggest return. And when I don't do that, I don't see it. And it's just what it is. And it feels like I'm climbing up a hill, like by myself with like 100 pounds on my back. And it's like impossible. That's what it feels like. So I do it like that with like within marketing. I'll do it like on this, for example, before this, I said, okay, like you could talk to whoever you want, but I say, okay, God, spirit, universe, like give me all the right things to say or all the things that the people need for me to say in order to, you know, serve them the most that I possibly can. So I say that, but it's like always just asking. It's a lot of asking for what I want, what the desire is. Give me the right actions, like tell me what to say, show me the way, show me the roadmap. So it's a lot of that, but I'll use it in life too, like what am I meant to work out today? You know, or like, what do I need to eat? Or why does my body feel like this? And just allowing those answers to come in, I think is really important. So those are the kinds of things I do throughout the day. But as far as the business goes, it's like compartmentalized.
I love that. I think that's so helpful. And I think it also goes to show like how much you have leaned into that because like it's not just showing up and like, oh, like I sit down and like intuitively listen in for a 6-month plan. It's like every day it's part of your life, multiple times a day in multiple areas of your life. And like that's like, in my opinion, like that's congruence when like for me, my mindset is so important. So mindset shows up in my life like 100 times a day. And like that for me is congruence. And I think that you're so good at bringing congruence. Like when you're telling your clients or whatever to listen to your intuition, like it's coming from a place of like, because I know it works because I do it 100 times a day. Chelsea says she's an intuitive person as well, but she's wondering like, how did you cultivate that trust with yourself and your intuition?
That's a great question. Just doing it. It's like,
Yeah.
really, like that's, I know that's like the most annoying answer ever, but it's like if you, um, it's like if you meet somebody for first, like you meet a guy, right? And you're like, I really like this guy, but I don't know, like people have betrayed me in the past. And like I haven't been able to trust a guy in the past or something, right? Well, you're going to have to go with that guy on a few dates in order to really lean into trusting him. It's the same thing. You have to experience like that you can trust yourself by choosing to trust yourself and then seeing the results of that.
Yeah, and I feel like you could just use it on little things. Like Ariel was saying, like, what am I meant to eat to feel better or whatever? Like, and so there's not like this hugely negative consequence, but you'll
Yeah.
see the value and the benefit of it, right?
Yeah, it's like the incremental increase, like you talk about with like, sales or like
Yeah.
goals or like whatever. It's like the same thing.
What is I don't even know if you're going to know this off the top of your
Hmm.
head, but if you do, what is the like scariest thing you've ever had to trust your intuition on in business? Like what
Oh, in
did you
business?
like? Well, listen, you can open that door to life too. That might be a better story, but like when you just had that moment where like your gut is saying something, but your brain is like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Like what is one of the scariest things you've had to trust yourself on, and how did that turn out?
Yeah. Um, I mean, there's been a lot of things, but I think that one thing that I really haven't talked about as far as business goes that much, I would say, is um, I I was, I don't want to like throw shade or whatever because I'm not into that, but it's like I was I was working with somebody and I really had invested all of my trust in them being the person who would get me the results. And I don't mean like get me, I just mean like I more of my confidence was in them and working with them than in myself. And I think that was a big thing for me because I had made a lot of money and like sort of choosing to be in the void of being like boundary, this isn't working for me, this doesn't feel good, I feel like I've completely lost myself. um like stepping back and choosing to be in the void of like I don't really know what's going to conspire from here, what's going to happen, but here's what I want, and I'm available to like be in that void for a minute until I like heal what happened here, choose new things, and then also like work to make that my life what I wanted or my business what I wanted. I think that was really scary because it was like I was saying no to a certain way of doing things that did make me, pardon me, a lot of money.
That's such a good example, I think, because what you had to do was like really trust yourself, right? Like you could feel in your gut like I'm losing myself and this isn't the way I want to show up, and I know I'm losing myself, but like I'm getting all these benefits from it, and your intuition is telling you like, but it doesn't matter, they're not worth it. And to have to lean in and listen to that, well shit, that's like, and you had a small child and all of these responsibilities and all that, so like leaning into that was probably like insane.
Yeah, and I mean, like all transparency, like it took me a minute to like bounce back from it, not
Yeah.
not because like there was anything wrong with me, but because it was like I spent a lot of time doing that and building it that way, and so I had to rebuild a different way internally, my mindset, my feelings, my emotions. I had to rebuild a lot of stuff. And so yeah, I mean it was a lot to lean into, but I'm glad that I did it because now I have so much more of the experience of like what I believe in. Like I'm just so much more like this is me, this is what I believe in, this is what I know to be true because I had that contrast.
I think it's like so beautiful that you shared that, and I just want to say thank you for that, because I feel like when people hear the title of like how Ariel made like $1 million in revenue or whatever, like I feel like the immediate assumption our brain makes is like, and it must have been so easy and it must have been so perfect for her and it must have not been that hard. And so far we've talked about how hard structure was for you, how your personal life blew up, how you like had
Yeah.
this super difficult situation that you had to leave. And I just think it's so nice to be able to see like, and there's so many good things and there's so many results on the other side of that, and like you love what you do every single day. Like it can be both, you guys, and I feel like that's just such a gift to be able to witness that in somebody that is creating the level of success that you want.
Yeah, totally.
um Yulan said, I completely started to let go of my implementation agency, which was tiring me out completely, and calling in my 30K launch. So yeah, that's a total intuition piece, right? Just having to be like, I'm going to let go of this thing that's making me 30K, or, you know, that's making me a lot of money, and like open up to something else. So good. Hi, Shavana. Okay, so next question for you. Just because I want to make sure people know this piece a little bit too, is like, what's your current business model? Like, what do you get the most income from? Like, just kind of a broad overview of like, I mostly sell courses, or I mostly sell one-on-one, and it kind of looks like this. Like, what does that look like for you right now in your business?
Yeah. So right now for me in my business, it looks like, I guess you could call it high ticket sales. It's not that high, but would be like high ticket sales. That's where most of my revenue comes from right now. I've sold courses in the past and they have produced a lot of revenue. But I wanted to focus on doing a lot of like in-depth one-on-one stuff, one-on-one work like that. So the model that I have is like my one-on-one, which would be like obviously the highest ticket. And then I have something that is like, it's called sales pods. So it's like very small group coaching, like 2 to 5 women in each pod, where I'm able to like really coach everyone in depth. So that's where the biggest moneymaker is for me right now. But I've launched courses in the past. It's just that in this moment in time, with, I would say, if I'm really thinking about it, right, it's like strategically, it's like this was best for me to do with my personal life, to be able to have this type of I guess movement, like the way that this works, and and having not a huge like launch or whatever to manage right now is really good for me. But I know that I'll bring course launches in the future because I've done them successfully before. But that's what the business model looks like right now. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think that's just super helpful for people to hear that like you might have different business models that work better for you at different points in your life. So like right now, the business model that works best for you is more high ticket, is more one-to-one, is more focused in that area. And then there have been times in your life over the past 5 years where course launches did work better for you, and that was part of it. And I just think it's nice to see that there's like not a right way to do it. Like you're making money now, you made money then, it's all good. It's just about figuring out what fits you and like being willing to make that transition when it doesn't anymore, right?
Yeah, totally. It's like the same thing with like, how you talk about ads, it's like ads,
Yeah.
like you can't just run ads and have people come into a funnel anymore and then expect that the amount of people like sells it, right? It's like the connection. So, it's like what's working for you right now, what feels aligned, where do you need to adapt, and then doing that. So instead of running ads, we spend time on engagement.
Absolutely. And it's also like in alignment with what feels good for you personally too.
Totally, which is creating the
Right?
connections with people and like having in-depth conversation, because one of the things I wanted was more connection, like actual connection with people, as I learned the importance of that over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's so good. And again, like I feel like it's just so much permission where Ariel's not like, fuck group programs or da da da. She was like, I'll probably launch one. I'll probably launch a course at some point. I've launched one before and it worked. Like it's just about picking what works best for you then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Okay, so if you could tell us, like, what do you feel like? I'm going to answer this for you too.
Ooh, okay.
But I'll answer second. But like, what do you think has been the biggest contributor to your success, to creating that $1 million in revenue? Like, do you believe has been like the biggest contributing factor to that?
Honestly, belief, I think, is the biggest thing. I think it's belief across the board, like believing that I was going to make the amount of money that I said that I was going to make, believing that I could deliver, believing that I could trust myself to take those actions, believing that I was taking the right actions. Like that's like the biggest thing, honestly, because like I said, I didn't really have that much structure. So it's not like I could be like, the biggest thing was my funnel. It wasn't. It was me selling stuff.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, that's really what it was. What do you think?
I think I would say two things. I think that, I get to.
Mm-hmm.
I think one is what I said before, which is that I think you're so good at listening to your intuition, but I think you're a rare human that's also very good at acting really fast on that. Like, and I just see that to be something that serves you in so many ways, like to be able to translate what's coming to you into content, into action, into the next program, into what you should do to make that next sale. Like, I just think that's such a strong point of yours. And then I also think I would really echo the belief piece, and I would maybe add courage to that, which is like, I just think that like, even when things have gotten tough, or you had a tough situation, or you had something explode in your personal life, like you just always take the courageous action, which is like to believe anyway, to act like it's true anyway, to show up anyway. And that's where I feel like so many entrepreneurs get themselves stuck, is they're like, I believe, I believe, I believe. And then something shitty happens and they're like, I don't believe. Fuck it. I'm like checking out, whatever. But it's like, what I see with you is like, you'll be like, I believe, and then something shitty happens, and you're like, still believing, still believing, still showing up believing.
Yeah.
And I think that like, that's because over 5 years in business, you're going to have hard times. Some of them are going to be in business. Sometimes something personal, is going to show up or whatever. But like, if you can keep showing up through those, like, that's how you make $1 million in revenues. You just don't fucking quit. And how do you not quit? You have belief, right?
Yep. Exactly. And even when you're like, have a moment where you're like, I don't know if I believe, the thought of like quitting never exists. It's like, well, of course I have to keep going. Like, of course I have to figure out how, some way, even if there's this like belief that's like playing in the background that says that maybe something's not possible, or maybe I can't do this. Like, I have to figure out how to fix that, not fix it, but change it.
I remember that I said to Ariel once something like, well, you know how like everyone wants to quit their business at some point, or I said something like that, and like deadpan, she was like, no, like, what do you, like, no, I've never wanted to quit my business.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all.
She was like genuinely confused, like, no. But like, I think that's such a good like reminder of that's how much faith you have. Like, you're never someone that's like, oh, I had a bad week, like maybe I should just give up. Like, that is real belief, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I've never wanted to quit. I'm like, duh, you just keep going.
So that might lead into this, but I would love for you to share something around intuition here a little bit too. But like, if you were starting over, or if you were somebody listening to this, like, what's the one thing that you would want to know? Like, what would you want someone to know that's like just starting out, or what would you have wanted your past self to know?
Oh my God. I think that it's a little bit structury, but I think it's important, and I think it ties into intuition and trusting myself, which is, the biggest thing I would have done is I would have, when stuff started to get like overwhelming, or like when it started to get like I'm launching a program, or I want to go to the next level. I would say that's like the biggest thing. When I got to the place where I was like, I want to go to the next level in income, like after I did my very first launch was like a 70K launch. And after I had that, I was like, okay, I was really burnt out when I did the whole thing by myself. I didn't have any team or whatever. And I wish that I would have done this, which is zoomed out and looked at my whole organization and said, and by organization, I mean company, and said, what do I actually need right now? Like, personally, investment wise, structurally, in order to grow the thing. And I did not know that. And then I wish once I asked myself that, I would have actually like trusted myself to know the answer. Because what I did instead is I was like, well,
what I actually did
is I was like, hey, if I just invest more money, then somehow I'll somehow sort it out. Somehow, if I invest more, then I'll put myself more on the line, and somebody else probably has the answer. So I'll invest more into somebody else. And, like, I fully believe in coaching, but I don't think that like you have to I don't think it's a requirement that you need to invest more money in order to get a better answer to go higher. I think it's like, invest because you want to invest based on what your company needs right now, which I know you are down with as well. Yeah.
I think what's so cool about that is like what you're saying is like what you were doing the opposite of listening to your intuition at that point, right? Like at least on a macro scale. I think you have always done it on a micro, like day to day, right? But like you weren't like, okay, let me zoom out and like ask myself, what do I really need? Let me tune in. What's really, you were kind of just going like, okay, like throw money at the problem, get the next thing, do the next thing, right? You weren't using intuition in that higher level, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what created every single one of my big problems in business, was doing that.
Doing what? Not listening or over investing or both?
Both. Not over investing per se. I learned lessons from those things, but more so not zooming out and like really looking at the thing as a whole and then trusting myself to know what to do next. And really putting the trust on somebody else to say like, well, clearly I'm not sure what to do. Let me throw more money at the problem. I think that that's what created the, I don't know, I would say like 3 large like problem times in my business.
So agree with that, because I feel like that's such a mentality of our industry, is like most of the marketing in our industry is aimed at telling people everyone knows more than you. I know more than you. I know more than you. I know more than you. And that's something I love so much about your marketing, and something I stand for so much, is that I feel like what we're trying to tell people is like, you're the expert of your own life. You're the expert of your own business. Support helps you move forward in that. But like, if you don't hold yourself as the expert, if you don't actually tune into your intuition, if you don't like actually use that divine guidance, like nobody else is ever going to know more than you. But it's just fucked because our whole industry is basically built off the idea that everyone knows more than you, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think that there are some people too who have a business model that's developed around, I know more than you, and so you have to keep working with me kind of thing. And for me, that's just not an integrity, and that's okay if somebody wants to do that. But I think it's like about like, for me personally, sharing, hey, this is actually a really weird belief system in our industry. You can step out of it if you choose to, just so you know.
Totally. And I think it also does, like Ariel and I have worked together for probably almost 2 years with a break in between, right? But I think what's so beautiful about that is that like that was fine too. Like we came to the end of a certain journey, we took a break, we started another journey, and all of that's good. But it's not like her business came crashing down and she failed epically in that middle ground, and then like, you know, like needed me to, it was just like, it was the right time again for her to get support. And I think that maybe you could speak to that a little bit, Ariel, but I think that for me, like if you're hiring a coach because you're like last ditch effort, like they have to know everything I don't know, and like, dear God, please just let them come in and fix every single thing about me, you're going to be disappointed. If you're hiring a coach because you're like, I know I need outside perspective, and I know I need someone to help me pull out my own genius and my own expertise and all of that kind of stuff, you're in this totally different place, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it just goes back to like why I love to work with you, because you like continuously put it back on me. Not that I'm like asking you for answers by any means, but it's like the epitome of what a leader and true entrepreneur does, which is tries to find answers to lead their own ship. And like, it's like, I think you said this to me once in some way or another, is like, I'm just one small piece of that. Like, and I love that. And it like makes me want to like work with you forever and respect you even more, because you're not thinking that you're like, you know, like the whole, like, you're not like pretending to be God or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, there's a lot of different pieces. Like you show up to shift my perspective or whatever, but you expect for me to do the work to like trust myself to find other answers that put all the puzzles pieces together so that I can actually steer my own ship. I'm not asking somebody to come in to, you know, to steer it, or I'm not running from, you know, on every single floor. I'm saying, what is the information that I need to actually steer it?
I think something that's so true about what you just said, Megan and I did a live stream and we talked about this a little bit, but I think especially like once you've grown to a certain point in business, like it's funny how quick people are to take credit for everything. Like I feel like most people would have like, you know, titled this like how I got my client X result or some dumbass shit like that, right? And it's like I didn't get you shit. You got yourself shit, right? Like I think that when you can look at it like that, that's when you're moving forward the most. And it's again why you're so good, because like you use your intuition. So like you bring your intuition to the table and we put strategy around it. But the magic is in listening to yourself, right?
Yeah, totally. But I also feel like just, you know, as far as the way that we're sort of talking about like the industry and mentorship too, is like that's why I like working with you so much, is because you're not trying to tell me all the answers, you know? Like I come away as a more empowered individual because of the way that the dynamic is. You're not like I got my client these, right? Like because then all the responsibility and ownership, or most of it, is on you and not on me. And it's like the more that I can like value myself and trust myself and know what to do myself, it's almost like the more that I like value the support that you give to me. I don't know if this is making sense, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like the more that I value the support that you give to me, because it's so beneficial for like my foundation to everything, as opposed to like me trying to grab on and like want you to be doing it for me. Does that even make sense?
No, it totally does. It's like having someone that's like, this is so cheesy, but I always say this to Megan, and it's like always how I endeavor my clients to feel, but it's like the difference between someone being like the wind beneath your wings versus someone like dragging you along with a rope. Like it's just two totally different feelings, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like I'm like, you can be here to support someone to go higher. When you're saying you have all the answers, you're just dragging someone along and you have a rope around their neck that they can't let go of, because it feels like, but you have all the answers and I know none. And I just think that setup in our industry is so shitty. And it's like exactly what you take the stance against, which is why so many of your programs are based around like helping your clients listen to their intuition too, because it's like, you need to know how to do this so that you one day don't need me. Not that you can't keep hiring me, but like having that foundation is what's actually going to get you success, right?
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
So good. So good. Okay, so tell everybody just like all the places they can find you. Tell them where they can find out about Sales Pods,
Yeah.
your group. Your Instagram is the best. They should follow you there.
Okay, let's start with Instagram. You can follow me. That's a lot. You can follow me over on Instagram. My handle is at the Ariel Frey. My website is arielfrey.com. Sales Pods is open right now. We're booking for October, and that is at arielfrey.com/sales pods. I have a couple of other, yes.
Can you just throw those in after this
Yeah.
too, like in the comments? Okay.
Totally. Thank you. Yeah, I have a couple of other courses that are available on manifesting money and everything else you desire, marketing course, a guide that's very inexpensive, sort of mini course, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I feel like that's where you can find me. Oh, my group. That's the other thing you said. My group is called the Intuitive Boss Babe, which is obviously fitting. So you can find me there as well. And I do lives on lessons learned every Wednesday.
They're so good. They're so good.
Thank
and
you.
like, duh, because you've been in business for 5 years, like there are a lot of them, and it's like,
yeah, a lot.
They're so good at being like raw about them. So if you need a little bit of inspiration around that, that's such a good place to get it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here.
It.
Thank you for always just being so transparent. Like that's the thing I knew you were going to bring to this and just love about you, where you're just like willing to put it all out there. If you guys are watching the replay, I know I had a lot of people tell me they couldn't come at 3. If you're going to watch the replay and you have other questions for Ariel, just tag her and she can come back and answer them. But definitely follow her in all the places. I'm so grateful to you for coming. I love you. I adore you.
Love you too. You're the best. Thanks for having me. I so appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you for being here.
Bye.